All right, good evening, everyone. It is 6:01 on Monday, November the 25th, and I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Board of School Directors of Upper Dublin, the legislative meeting for the month of November. And Ms. Evans, if you could call our roll.
Ms. Jenna Evans.
Present.
Ms. Ionetti.
Present.
Mr. Held.
Present.
Ms. Redding.
Present.
Ms. Sherpier.
Present.
Dr. Thomas.
Present.
Mr. Sirota.
Present.
Mr. Warschauer.
Present.
Mr. Wallach.
Present.
All present. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I think we will just dive right into our agenda this evening. We all have thoughts of upcoming turkey and such in our minds, no doubt. So we'll get things moving along. First, we have our student government representative report, and Izzy Fishman is here.
Thank you. The chill of November has not put a damper on Upper Dublin students' enthusiasm in their activities. There has been an outpouring of community service to off-the-charts school involvement. Senior Art of the Story English classes wrapped up their Bridging Generations project with a culminating event, gift exchange, between seniors and our neighbors at Fort Washington Estates. This communal feeling continued into American Education Week throughout all the UD schools, with high school film students honoring the teachers that helped them the most and elementary PTOs providing food and fun each day to teachers and staff. As part of an annual SGA-run event benefiting Peace and Shake, a girls' powder puff football game ended in an exciting victory by the junior class, usurping the seniors from their 3-year-in-a-row title. As the first marking period comes to an end, we are once again reminded of the academic excellence here at Upper Dublin, as our honor roll is once again countless. Many senior students have taken advantage of the academic opportunities to continue their studies after high school, thanks to the guidance office continuing their instant decision day, allowing these students to meet with college admissions officers who accepted many on the spot. Business and marketing students recently welcomed guest speaker Ms. Larkin Richards, Manager of Marketing and Public Relations for Special Olympics, to help them learn more about online marketing campaigns. High schoolers here at UD have also taken it a step further to help our elementary school students who struggle with reading. Under the leadership of Tyler Gundy, a new elementary literacy program has been created to support the reading development of these young students. As the fall athletic season comes to an end, we congratulate our athletes both for their individual success, as many students were honored with all-league athletic awards, and their team success. Boys water polo secured second place in the state in quadruple overtime, and girls water polo was alongside them, winning third in the state. Football continued far past the regular season as they finished out playing in the semifinals. Although the season has come to an end, many seniors will be continuing their athletic careers post-high school, with fall athletes signing their commitments this past month. We continue to wish our athletes luck as the winter season begins. Performance arts at Upper Dublin in the music department has once again been exceptional. The theater department put on a spectacular performance of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night from a new 90s perspective. Following this, a group of select orchestra students represented UD as they performed in the Montgomery County Honors String Orchestra. As I mentioned in my report last month, I had the opportunity to talk to representatives from each of the elementary school. Thanks to the Gerritown PTO who invited me to their meeting, I learned that these past months, Gerritown has run a student council election among their 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, where children nominated by their peers ran campaigns and held speeches. These elected students have become deeply involved in the school community as they ran the November PBIS monthly meeting and are discussing adding spirit days during School Inclusion Week coming up. JTES has not forgotten about the adults, though, as Donuts with a Dude and a parent social after back-to-school night returned as new traditions by the PTO. Over at Fort Washington, classic traditions have once again been extremely successful, with over 1,000 attendants at their annual Halloween parade and many others showing up for the turkey trot. However, new traditions have been blossoming as well. Fort Washington has held monthly meetings to demonstrate each character trait of a FWES patriot, with their mascot teaching the kids the safety dance. FWES has also encouraged this behavior with their new PBIS Hero Cars that has recently rewarded the entire school with a school-wide bingo game. To encourage the teachers to build their spirit, they held an underground Teachers-Only Spirit Week that was eventually discovered by the students, who have their own Spirit Week when they return to school after Thanksgiving break. Just down the road at Maple Glen, students enjoyed the annual trunk or treat thrown by the PTO. Maple Glen also hosted a book fair and lollipop ghost fundraiser. Fifth grade students welcomed Lieutenant Colonel Antonia Green Edwards on Veterans Day to share her story and inspiration of why she served to the children. Reflecting election season, Thomas Fitzwater held a mock election to determine whether to tape Miss Kim to a wall or make her into a banana split. They also split into buses to disguise turkeys in wacky ways. As their own student council elections came to a close, the fifth grade students who were elected to lead helped run the Veterans Day Assembly, and other student leaders led the annual Ruby Bridgers Walk to School Day. Classes raced in the annual turkey trot, while the artists competed to depict fire trucks, with grade-level winners each earning an exciting prize. The PTO held a trunk-or-treat that was less spooky than the administrators, who came dressed up as Monsters, Inc. characters, thanks Dr. Smith, as they raised over $300 for Cheetah's Care. Sandy Run students joined in the countrywide letter writing campaign to thank soldiers, writing over 1,000 letters collectively. Continuing to understand the world around them, 8th grade students attended an assembly to learn more about Native culture presented by Rob Apker, who shared Lenape cultural traditions with the students. The stakes couldn't be higher for this year's Sandy Run Turkey Trot tomorrow, as the winner from each grade will receive a Sandy Run plush turkey. This will be each person for themselves, but just last month, each team came together for the 8th grade field day. Thank you, and I hope you all enjoy your break.
Izzy, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate you reaching out to the other schools, and I think I speak for everybody up here when we say thank you. I know it's a lot extra work for you to amass that information, but to give it to us at the meeting for the whole board is really greatly appreciated, and we get to hear things that are going on all over our district, which is really great stuff. So thank you. Appreciate that very much. Next up is our superintendent's report, and Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Wallach. And Izzy and I coordinated tonight so that we have no duplicates, because she did a great job of sharing a lot of the student activities going on. So I appreciate that as well, Izzy. So tonight, my remarks, I have just 4 short areas. I'll start with comprehensive planning. We have been holding meetings with our steering committee, which started last spring, and we have met, I believe, 2 to 3 times this fall already. Here in this room, we've done a lot of collaborative work this year in the fall to look at our mission, vision, and values, as well as to look at surveys and academic data. Most recently, we have identified glows and grows, and we have one more meeting that we're coming back to in December, where the group will help us determine some focus areas. And then the bulk of the work will be internal with our administrative team to finalize the plan, which we hope to present to the board in February, as it will be public display for 30 days and hopefully approval in March to by the board, and then to submit it to the state. So that's some of the work we're doing. On this slide, this is just a draft, but I did want to let you know that we are progressing along, and we have a draft mission statement, which you see at the top, really represents some of the values and the vision that our steering committee would like to see here at Upper Dublin. In the red in the middle is our draft vision statement, and then down the right I included, the group came to 5 different values that we would want to instill in all of our students, and then we have belief statements that go with those as well. So progress is moving along. There may be some slight changes to these yet, but then, as I said, the goals and action plans will be coming next. I would like to also give a huge thank you for their service to these fine administrators on the screen. You will notice on our agenda this evening we have a resignation and a retirement. I want to thank them again for their service to our school district. Mr. Matt Highland is currently our athletic director, and he is moving on to a different position. We're very excited for him. Of course, sad to see him leave us. And Mr. Pickford has announced his retirement at the end of this school year, so you will also see that. And he has served most recently at Sandy Run Middle School as the house principal in quite a few years here in Upper Dublin. And again, we appreciate the service of both of them. We do have plans in place for an interim athletic director, which you will see on the agenda this evening that we talked about at Finance, as well as a shift in that position. And then I also met with Mrs. Nusky and have been working with our Human Resources Department for a timeline to post the House Principal position, which we will most likely wait until around January, February-ish to post that, with an anticipated start date of July 1 or on or about there. I'm also excited to share U.S. News & World Reports put out their rankings for the elementary and middle schools. That is really small on the screen for me to see. So I'm excited to share because all of our 5 schools in K to 8 have ranked in the top 20% of the state. High school rankings do not come out until April. This is heavily based upon your state standardized test scores and how your students do, with some additional factors that look at socioeconomic and so forth and how your students are performing. But as you can see, all of them are within the top 20%. Sandy Run is ranked number 24 in the state of Pennsylvania for middle schools, as is Fort Washington Elementary for the elementaries, but all of our elementaries were in the top 20% as well. So that's exciting. And then I believe the next slide here is just a reminder that we are in the midst of parent-teacher conferences in K to 8. They started today, and they will wrap up tomorrow, and we have some evening conferences. And as far as we know, they have gone well, haven't heard otherwise. So exciting time to be able to interact with our parents. And then lastly, just a big shout out to everybody that we hope that Brooke, if you could just advance the slide, thank you. Just happy Turkey Day, happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at Upper Dublin to our community. We hope that you have a joyous time with your families, and we're thankful certainly for everybody who contributes to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Appreciate it as always. That'll bring us to our first opportunity for public participation. This is for action items and agenda items only. If anyone would like to address the board, please come forward, state your name and city of residence, or affirm you are a resident or a taxpayer of the district, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes. I do not see anyone approaching, so I will close the first opportunity for public participation, and we'll keep moving through our agenda. Next up, we have our minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes tonight. We have our October 16th special legislative meeting, as well as our October 28th regular legislative meeting. Minutes of both of those meetings have been distributed to the board, and I will make a motion to approve both sets of those minutes. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Sherpier, thank you so much. Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Moving on, we have our Education Committee recommendations. Ms. Sherpier.
Yeah, and I'd like to take both items. There is the conferences and the student activities. I'd like to make a motion that we approve both of them. I would like to make a comment after this, but
Certainly.
make the motion first.
I'll take the motion first. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mr. Warschauer, thank you. And now, questions or comments? Ms. Sherpier, I'll give you the floor first.
Yeah, about the conferences, I think there is there's a note about the update. Oh, hold on. About the Latin teachers. No, where was it? Yeah, there was an increase, and the numbers that were, but that was approved already in August. So I think the numbers that you see there, the registration fee is the additional cost. Because if you look above, you see the pricing for the French teacher, and those rates are higher, but. And it looks like the French teacher is going for 1 day, whereas the Latin teacher is going for multiple days. So that's might be a little bit confusing, but I just wanted to check that was indeed the case, right? Yeah. All right. That's all.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Evans.
So on the student activities, I see some revisions were made since we saw this in Education Committee. Can you just remind me where we landed, though, on the buses that were being used? I remember one school was using a charter bus, one was using school buses. I don't know where that shook out in the end, if anybody knows.
So due to the needing to secure a bus during the school day, they sought outside transportation. And last year, when both of these principals put money into their budget, they had made a certain allocation. And that allocation covers what you see here. So there wasn't coordination between the two principals to say, this is what I'm doing. handled these processes completely separately. And so it was based on the allocation they anticipated and what could meet their needs. And that's why there's a difference. And the Fort Washington is sending 2 different buses and found within their budget 2 buses that would meet their needs. And then 1 bus from Jarretttown, and the same process was used to find was in their budget, but they didn't coordinate.
Yeah, my 2 cents just for the future is to just try to have more parity there. And I don't know, in general, not to sound stingy about it, my view is if we can swing it with school-provided buses, that'd be my preference, but I'll leave it at that.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Moving right along, next we have our Finance Committee recommendations. Since Mr. Sirota is joining us virtually, Ms. Evans, I'm going to ask you to take this.
Yep, absolutely. So in terms of Finance Committee recommendations, we have items A through J. All of them, with the exception of J, were discussed during the Finance Committee meeting, and J is a standard item that gets added after the meeting. I just want to maybe call the board's attention to 3 items here. The first is the opt-out resolution, which is item H. I'm not going to take it separately, but just as a reminder, this is the item where we are deciding whether to opt out of moving forward with the process whereby you could exceed the Act 1 index. And the recommendation from the Finance Committee was indeed to opt out, meaning we would not anticipate increasing our taxes above the Act 1 index. The second item to call out, which is just a thank you to the Upper Dublin Marching Band Parents Association for the donation that is mentioned in item I. We really appreciate that. And again, item J is the new addition. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve items A through J.
Appreciate that. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Help, thank you. Questions or comments? Ms. Redding was slow on the draw there with the microphone, but that's okay. She'll have her turn on the next.
My apologies.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Next, we have our Personnel Committee recommendations, and this time Ms. Redding will be allowed to use the microphone.
Still might not be quick enough for Mr. Held, but we have 3 items on the personnel, which also includes the restructuring of the athletic director position, which we talked about in the finance meeting. So motion to approve items A through C.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Ms. Iannitti, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent, thank you so much. Next up is our pupil services recommendations. We have 2 of those this evening. I'm going to take those, I'm going to split them up. First, I will take item A, and I'll make a motion to approve item A, which is in accordance with Board Policy 202, that we approve a waiver of tuition for an eligible Class 4 non-resident student, as identified in the agenda, for the period of time beginning on October 31, 2024, through the end of the 24-25 school year. I make that motion, and do I have a second for that?
Second.
Mr. Warschauer, thank you so much. Questions or comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. We have one more item this evening. It's a non-residency student expulsion item. I will make a motion that we adopt the proposed adjudication in the matter of the student identified in the agenda as presented to the board by our appointed hearing officer with a withdrawal date no later than January 24th, 2025. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Ms. Sherpier, thank you so much. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ms. Ionetti is opposed? Evans, did you get that? Thank you. Okay, motion carries there. Moving on, we have our policy committee recommendations. Ms. Ionetti.
Okay, we have items A through D, all of which were discussed at length at the last policy meeting. So I'd like to make a motion to approve A through D.
Thank you so much. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Held, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. We do not have any items of other business this evening, so next up is our solicitor's report and Sunshine Act announcements. Mr. Diazio.
Thank you. Yes, the board did meet in a brief executive session on Wednesday, November 20th, to discuss a confidential student adjudication matter that the board acted on this evening. There was no executive session prior to the meeting. There will be a brief executive session after tonight's meeting that I'll announce at the December board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. We appreciate that. It brings us to our second opportunity for public participation. This is for any topic whatsoever. If anyone would like to address the board, please state your name and city of residence, or affirm you are a resident or taxpayer of the district, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes.
Thank you. All right. This did not exactly fit in my report, but as I met with the Thomas Fitzwater PTO, they discussed an issue that they had recurring a little bit. One thing that they mentioned was that it's very difficult for them, as they just published their new phone book, that on Infinite Campus, a lot of people don't realize that if they want to keep their information the same, they actually do have to put in their same address and same email and phone number. They were wondering if there's any way that they can add on Infinite Campus, if anyone on the board has that kind of ability to contact Infinite Campus, to keep their information the same and have like a button to say like, my information is the same, because it has made it very difficult for them to have all of their information for their new phone book. And then if not, they had a lot of difficulty emailing the people who did not update their information on Infinite Campus. And they were wondering if there was any way to contact people when they have changed their email address, or if Dr. Smith or another member of the board has the ability to send out more of an email to make sure that people are actually updating their information in Infinite Campus. Okay, thank you.
I do not see anyone else approaching the microphone, so I will close this opportunity for public participation. I will also announce that we received no written submissions. The item that was brought up, I don't think any of us on the board are involved in Infinite Campus, but Dr. Smith, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to respond on that point.
Izzy, I'll be happy to follow up with you and, of course, the Thomas Fitz PTO to see what we can do to support them, if anything. Thank you.
Jenna.
So this topic is near and dear to my heart because I happen to prepare both the Jarretttown and Sandy Run directories, so I feel this pain, actually. So yeah, I think it's a combination of allowing people to keep their information the same, reminding them to update it, because it ends up falling on the individual PTOs to do that. But I think the other issue is that I personally run into is trying to decipher people's instructions about what they want to keep confidential is really difficult. It would be great if they could do like radio buttons, like I don't want, check off what they don't want, because they'll say things like, publish my primary phone number. I don't know which one that is, so I email them. So I'm only offering it just because I personally deal with this this time of year. So, yeah, I'm happy to give some more background on that, too.
And I guess I could just elaborate. One thing that we are working on is what's called annual verification, that in the summer, before schedules are released, that parents are prompted and have to update and go through all of the things in IC on an annual basis to make sure that it's up to date before they receive student schedules. So we're looking into making sure that that's set up for the start of next year.
Thank you for that, Dr. Smith. Anybody else around the table? Comments? Okay. We have our informational items. We have our enrollment report as usual. We have liaison committee reports. We have our monthly committee meeting approved minutes. That includes the October 8th Education Committee minutes, October 8th for policy, and October 16th for finance. And our last item this evening is I'll announce our schedule for upcoming meetings. We have the board's reorganization meeting, which will be on Wednesday, December the 4th at 6 o'clock. That'll be immediately followed by the policy committee meeting. Our next finance committee meeting is December the 11th at 6 o'clock. And our next legislative meeting is Monday, December the 16th at 7 o'clock, back to our normal time for legislative meeting. There is no education committee meeting in the month of December. And with that, on behalf of the board, I echo Dr. Smith and wish everyone a healthy and happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see everyone after the long holiday weekend. We are adjourned.